Last season, Anfernee Simons made waves as a three-point shooter and a dunker. He shot the ball phenomenally well in Blazers games. On the other hand, the dunking part only came in the dunk contest, which he did win, but in actual Blazers games, he only attempted 4 dunks on the season. I'm hopeful that'll change this year. I'll get into why, and I'll take a deep look at every aspect of Anfernee Simons' game as he heads into his 4th year. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another player preview. There is a link in the description box below to all player previews. I have them all in a playlist. Make sure to check them out. This is the 7th installment I've done. We're almost to the starters, and I can't wait to get those videos out to you guys. But before we hop into this video, the Blazers play their first preseason game in 2 days. If you want a great deal on tickets to that preseason game, or maybe a regular season game in the future, then you can head over to SeatGeek.com, and if you use my promo code Blazers Uprise with no space, then you can save $20 off your first ticket purchase. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they are a ticket seller. They sell tickets to Blazer games and Timber games and concerts and pretty much anything you can get tickets to. So if you go and use my promo code Blazers Uprise again without a space, it'll help you out, it'll help me out, and you can go catch some action. With that out of the way, let's jump into Anfernee Simons' player preview. Last season, Simons played in 64 games. He didn't start a single one. In 17 minutes per game, he averaged 7.8 points, 2.2 rebounds, 1.4 assists, shooting 42% from the field and 42.6% from 3. He shot a better percentage from 3 than he did from 2. From the free throw line, he shot 80.7%. He was solid there. He had a true shooting percentage of 59%. The big standout thing for Anfernee Simons last year was his jump in three-point efficiency. The first 2 seasons of his career, he shot 34.5% and then 33%. So getting that up to 42.6%, that's a humongous jump. He was one of the best shooters in the league last season, and it wasn't just him shooting spot-up catch-and-shoot shots like a lot of the sharp shooters around the league do. He was shooting contested shots. He was shooting shots off the pick and roll. He was shooting some deep pull-ups. He was shooting all sorts of threes, so that percentage is very, very impressive. Outside of that, he struggled to play make, but I think that was as much due to the system as it was due to his own playmaking deficiencies. And on the defensive end, he struggled for most of the year, but by the end of the season, I actually think he was an average to above average defender. He improved mightily over the course of the season, and from day 1 to the final day of the playoffs, I would say he improved more than any other Blazer on the defensive end. But first, let's start with a deep dive into his offensive game. He is an absolute lethal threat as a shooter. However, I think this season we might be able to even raise his percentage if we're able to get him better three-point shots. I feel like with the amount of weapons and passing big men we have on this team, we can get Anfernee Simons higher quality threes and just the whole entire offense higher quality threes in general. It'll be interesting to see if we're able to manufacture better threes for him, if he's able to raise that three-point percentage from 42.6 to maybe something like 43, 44%. At that point, he has a chance at being the best three-point shooter in the league based off efficiency. I'm not saying he shouldn't shoot pull-up threes off the pick and roll. If they're there, he should shoot them. That'll help open up driving lanes for him. But given how good his three-point percentage was last season, I'm interested to see how good it might be on better shots. Now, as far as other aspects of Simons' offensive game, his slashing ability has a lot of potential, but it doesn't have a lot of substance yet. Last season, it wasn't a good situation for Simons, in my opinion, because Terry Stotts ran an offense in which he required his guards to create shots for themselves and others against set defenses. The ball didn't move much, players didn't move much. It was mostly a guard trying to do something against a set defender and set backside help, and it's really easy to defend guards that way. While Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are so talented that it doesn't really matter, they're still able to make things happen at a high level. That's not quite Anfernee Simons' game yet. I think he has the potential, maybe in his prime, maybe he's a guy like that. If that's the case, he's a borderline all-star player. But at this point in time, he's a guy that I think has slashing ability. He just needs to be put in the right situation on the court to be able to make use of it. Some of the stuff I said in Nasir Little's player preview is going to apply here. If you get the ball moving, you get the defense rotating, and you're able to kick out to Anfernee Simons, he is such a good three-point shooter that you have to run him off the line. It'll be much easier for Anfernee Simons to attack a closeout if the closeout's coming from the side than directly in front of him. So if you're able to to get Anfernee Simons' defender helping, or at least playing in gap to help position, then if the ball gets rotated to Simons, the closeouts are going to be coming more from the side than directly in front of him. It doesn't sound like a big thing, but with a guy with his athletic ability, that'll just give him a lane to drive downhill, and he'll be able to get past his defenders in that situation. Now, what happens after that remains to be seen, and he has to work on his finishing ability and his playmaking, but I'm expecting that to take a jump this year, and at least we'll be able to see how good he is when he's able to somewhat consistently get in the lane against a rotating defense. I hated seeing him try to create against a completely set defense and struggle in that, and then everybody blame him and say he's incapable of being a point guard and all this stuff because he can't create something out of nothing. This season, I have high hopes for him kind of breaking out as a bit more than a three-point shooter. His slashing ability has me encouraged. Chauncey Billups has said that he is challenging Simons to be a better playmaker out of drives and out of the pick and roll this season. As far as playmaking out of drives, I think being able to drive a bit more and get into the lane a bit more will help Simons' development in this area just out of repetition. He definitely has to get better at reading the last line of defense and making the right play accordingly, but I think that'll continue to improve. And then he also has to become a better pick and roll player. He has the pull-up three out of the pick and roll down, that's no doubt. But he has to be able to do more out of pick and roll play. Last year he struggled in that area, so that's something that I'll be watching for. He also has to finish better. It's also encouraging that Chauncey Billups has, quote, a finishing basket. There's numbers up on the backboard spanning from 1 to 5, and if you're able to hit those numbers and get the ball to spin in for a layup, sometimes you have to put English on it, sometimes you have to shoot the ball at a bit of a weird angle, but if you hit the corresponding number, 5 is the hardest spot to hit and make a layup off of, then you get more points, and it's kind of just a game that Chauncey Billups and Anfernee Simons played. And Chauncey said that he challenged Anfernee Simons. He said he could beat Anfernee Simons, and then Anfernee Simons went out there and crushed him. But the big picture of all that is Simons working on his finishing, Chauncey helping him work on different angles and English off the backboard. While we all love Anfernee Simons as an athlete, and I can all but guarantee you he's going to have more than 4 dunk attempts this year because he'll have more driving lanes to attack in an offense that'll move the ball more and get the defense rotating. I'm also hopeful that if he's not able to dunk, he's able to contort his body, he's able to rearrange in the air and get layups off around big men and then also finish them. So that finishing basket that Chauncey Billups talked about is a good thing for that. Now let's talk about his defense. I think he improved a lot the second half of last season. While defensive metrics don't paint him in a good light whatsoever, they were even worse the first half of the season, so he improved based on defensive metrics that don't like him as a defender. And in the playoffs, he had some really good moments in my opinion. I went to game 6, sat pretty close, and watched Simons' defense heavily during that game, and he was moving his feet extremely well. He's a guy that is able to move his feet. I think the issues for him were strength, and he's looking stronger as we head into the season. And then some ticky-tack fouls that he got called on him that I feel like were simply because refs didn't respect him enough. So hopefully that'll change. I feel like a lot of times he was able to beat the offensive player to a spot. The offensive player would drive into him, and no matter what he did, it would be a foul on Simons, which isn't how that's technically supposed to work, but it seemingly did for him. Now, with more help on getting through screens, with big men playing higher on pick and roll defensive coverages, as well as Chauncey Billups hopefully helping Blazer guards with proper technique getting through screens, which they've struggled with, I honestly think that Anfernee Simons can be an average defensive player next season. He has the foot speed. I think he has the strength necessary now to be able to deal with most guards, and hopefully a lot of the technique things will get cleaned up. Anfernee Simons' defense is a pretty widely argued thing. There's a lot of people that think he was a good defender the second half of last season. There's a ton of people that think he just outright sucks and has no chance on that end. Let me know what you think of Anfernee Simons' defense down in the comment section below. As far as Simons' usage within the offense, I want him running off screens as a shooter. I think this can do 2 things. If he's running off screens and catching the ball, of course he can pull from 3. If his defender gets caught up in the screen, then He should have a quality three-point look. Maybe defenses will switch a bigger player out onto Anfernee Simons. In that case, I hope that Anfernee Simons has developed enough to be able to exploit that mismatch. But I also think if you're running him off of screens and defenses know how good of a three-point shooter he is, then it might open up some driving lanes for him. And I want to give Simons driving lanes this year. I don't want it to be a situation where he has to manufacture them one-on-one against a set defender with a set backside defense. I want to manufacture open driving lanes for Anfernee Simons and then see what he does with them. He might struggle with them. We'll have to wait and see, but he never really has gotten that chance consistently to have open gaps to attack in the defense. So running him off of screens can open up three-point looks for a lethal three-point shooter as well as give him driving lanes. So that is something that I hope to see this season. We have two good passing big men off the bench with Larry Nance Jr. and Cody Zeller. Make use of it. And I mean, speaking of those big men, if we use Simons productively as a cutter towards the basket, maybe not just running off screens for jump shots, then I think he can excel in that area as well. Just get him going on basket cuts towards the rim, especially if he's able to finish better with a defender draped on him. And then also run some backdoor lobs for him. We should be running at least one backdoor lob play for him a game. You might have to switch up the way it's run so defenses don't know it's coming, but a dude with that athletic ability should not only get 4 dunk attempts a year. And then I'd also like Simons to be given responsibility as a playmaker in general. I know a lot of fans won't like that, but in an up-tempo bench unit, I want him to be a guy who's given the freedom to make plays in transition. I think he would play better in a more up-tempo offense, and it sounds like Chauncey's going to preach that this year. And the only way Anfernee Simons is going to grow as a playmaker is for him to learn from his mistakes and be given the freedom to do that. Now, as far as his role goes, I think Anfernee Simons should play both backup guard spots. There's talk about using Norm at some shooting guard, but if you use Norm, that cuts into Anfernee Simons' CJ McCollum's or Damian Lillard's minutes. I want to give Anfernee Simons 25 minutes a game. And if you're playing Damian Lillard 36 minutes per game and CJ McCollum 35 minutes per game, then that only leaves 25 minutes left over at the backup guard spots. I think Dame and CJ should be staggered, and then when one of them isn't in the game, then Anfernee Simons is in the game. I think if he gets enough minutes, Anfernee Simons can be a top 10 contender for 6th man of the year. So as far as statistical goals for Anfernee Simons in those 25 minutes per game, I think he can average around 13 points per game. That's 18.7 points per game per 36. I think that's a good goal for him as a scoring guard. I also want to see him average 2.8 assists per game. That's 4 assists per 36 minutes. That might be hard for him to achieve. He has two good playmaking bigs that'll probably be playing a lot with him in Larry Nance Jr. and Cody Zeller. So a lot of the offense is probably going to be ran through those guys in the half court. So even if he fails to reach this goal, that doesn't mean that he struggled in terms of playmaking. This shouldn't be the only gauge in terms of his production as a playmaker. I just think that is a good statistical goal for him. And then I want to see him at least match what he shot from 3 last year. If he's able to get higher quality shots, it hypothetically shouldn't go down, but last year he might have overachieved a little bit in terms of shooting the ball. So if Anfernee Simons can shoot 42.6% from 3, that's great. I want to see him shoot 48% from 2. He shot 40% last season. He's a career 44% two-point shooter, but if he is in an offense that helps him get higher quality two-point shots off of cuts and giving him driving lanes, then I think he can get that percentage up to around 48%. I also want to see him shoot 85% from the free throw line. He shot around 81% last year, so that would be an uptick. And then a true shooting percentage of at least 60% would be good. As I said, he shot 59% true shooting last year, so 60% would be an improvement. And 60% is the benchmark for having really good efficiency in my opinion, so it'd be nice to see him reach that. Anyway, that wraps up my player preview for Anfernee Simons. Let me know what your thoughts on Ant are down in the comment section below, and that wraps up this video. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.